Sometimes in life, the most powerful stories begin in the quietest places. And if you're watching right now, I promise you this one will touch your heart in a way you won't forget. So stay with me till the end, and if you feel moved, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel, because together, we can spread stories that bring light into dark corners. It was a cold, gray afternoon in the city. The streets were crowded with people rushing home, couples holding hands, and children tugging at their parents' sleeves. On one lonely park bench, however, sat a man who looked completely out of place. He wore an expensive suit, polished shoes, and a wristwatch that alone could pay someone's rent for years. His posture was rigid, but his eyes told another story. This man was Ethan Carter, a CEO known in business circles as ruthless, sharp, and untouchable. But at that moment, he wasn't a CEO. He wasn't powerful. He was simply a man lost in his loneliness. Ethan had spent years climbing the corporate ladder, sacrificing everything for success, friends, hobbies, even love. He thought money and power would fill the emptiness, but the higher he climbed, the emptier he felt. His phone was full of contacts but not a single person he could call when the silence of his penthouse became too heavy. That day, after another boardroom battle, he simply walked out. He found himself in that park, staring at the world he no longer felt part of. And then came the moment that changed everything. A little girl, no more than 8, skipped toward the bench with a worn teddy bear in her arms. She wore a faded pink dress, patched at the corners, and shoes that had clearly seen better days. She stopped, tilted her head, and studied Ethan with curious eyes. Most children would have been afraid of the stern man with cold eyes, but not her. She walked closer and, without hesitation, asked, "Why do you look so sad, mister?" Ethan was startled. Nobody asked him questions like that. People feared him or respected him, but no one saw his sadness. He tried to force a smile and said, "I'm fine. Just tired." But the girl shook her head. "No, you're lonely." "I know because I was lonely too." Those words pierced deeper than any business rival ever could. Ethan blinked, unsure how to respond. "And what did you do about it?" he asked quietly. The little girl hugged her teddy bear tightly and answered with the kind of wisdom only a child could carry. "I made a family. My mama works all the time, and my papa went to heaven. So I decided my teddy bear is my brother. And sometimes, when I meet nice people, I tell them they can be in my family too. You can be in our family if you want." For a moment, Ethan couldn't breathe. He, the man who signed billion-dollar deals, was being invited into the family of a little girl who owned nothing but a teddy bear and a smile. Something inside him cracked, something he had built walls around for years. He lowered his gaze and whispered, "Why would you want me in your family?" The girl smiled as if the answer were obvious. "Because you look like you need someone. And family means no one should sit alone on a bench looking sad." Tears, real tears he hadn't allowed in decades, burned Ethan's eyes. He tried to look away, but the little girl climbed onto the bench beside him and placed her teddy bear in his lap. "Here. Until you smile, he's yours." Ethan held the worn toy awkwardly, but something about the gesture made his chest ache. For years, he had measured value in profits and possessions, yet here was a child offering him her most precious belonging with no agenda, no calculation, just kindness. As the minutes passed, her mother appeared, calling her name, Lila. She looked tired, dressed in simple clothes from her shift at a local diner, yet her eyes carried warmth and strength. She apologized to Ethan, embarrassed that her daughter was bothering a stranger. But Ethan stood up quickly, shaking his head. "She wasn't bothering me. In fact, she might have saved me." The mother gave him a puzzled look, but Ethan simply thanked them. For the first time in years, he walked back to his penthouse with something other than emptiness inside. He kept the teddy bear, promising Lila he would return it once he truly smiled. Days turned into weeks. Ethan found himself visiting that same park, hoping to see Lila again. And he did. Each time, she brought stories, about her school, her dreams of being an artist, about how her mother worked hard but always made her feel loved. Ethan listened like a thirsty man drinking water for the first time. Slowly, the loneliness that had chained him began to loosen. But the story wasn't without challenges. When his board of directors discovered his unusual friendship, they mocked him behind closed doors. They warned him that softening his image could ruin his reputation as a strong, feared leader. For the first time, Ethan faced a choice: return to the cold armor that had protected him for years, or risk vulnerability and keep his newfound connection. One evening, after a particularly bitter board meeting, Ethan walked into the park with heavy steps. Lila was there, painting with cheap watercolors on scraps of cardboard. She looked up, frowned, and asked, "Why are your eyes heavy again?" Ethan sighed. "Because the world doesn't understand me." Lila dipped her brush in yellow paint and drew a sun. "Then don't let the world decide who you are. Make your own sun." It was such a simple statement, yet it shook him. For years, Ethan had let his world be defined by power and money. Now, here was a child teaching him to